this is actually pretty crazy. Before we get to the sneak peek and talk about the stuff coming for the update, they have an announcement on the 10-year crafting event, the CTP crafting event. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, if you go into the craft page and you go to the event, this is it. And a lot of players have unwittingly, unfortunately, unrealizingly crafted the normal CTP event token more than once, despite not having a brilliant token to then craft a brilliant. Because the way that the event goes is you can make one regular token out of 2 CTPs to get 1 CTP selector. You can make do the same thing to a mighty, but then for the brilliant, you have to use both a brilliant token from a brilliant CTP sacrifice and a regular CTP. And so players are stuck now having burned 2 extra CTPs with an extra normal token sitting in their inventory doing nothing, and they think, oh, I just lost 2 CTPs because I wasn't paying attention, and I can't craft the brilliant. And technically, that's not the fault of the devs. That's the fault of the player for not paying attention. But the devs have decided to basically just refund everyone. So they announced here that they got overwhelmed. I guess they got many more one-to-one customer support requests than they usually get, and they're all surrounding this phenomenon or this kind of error on the player's part in crafting too many of the tokens. And so what they're saying is that anyone who crafted 2 normal tokens but did not craft the brilliant selector token after the event is over, you will be refunded the CTPs that you did not end up using. So just to be clear here, this is not a refund for players who did use the tokens. This is just if you are a player who is going to end the event, which ends in 4 days, if you're going to end the event with an extra token, an extra normal CTP token, they're just going to refund you back the CTPs and take the token away. And this is really nice. This is some really good customer service and sort of community trust building from the devs. I'm actually pretty surprised because this is 100% player error, right? You didn't read the event. It's not even like it's tucked away in the terms of service or something like that. There's only a few windows here, right? And so you'd go through the windows and you'd see this one takes a normal token, but it only takes 1. So that would be the first alarm bell ringing in your head because the craft count is only 1. And then you go over here and you see it again, right? So again, it's not tucked away. You don't have to go into another menu. You don't have to go off into the game's files to find this information. It's right there in front of you if it would ever load. I mean, this thing is not it. But anyways, so yeah, I think this is really good. Really, really good on the part of the devs. This kind of stuff is really huge W moment. And yeah, to players who this happened to, just pay attention, man. Just take it slow. Take the crafting events slow. Think before you craft. I think some people just go in and they just spam the max button and they just spam craft, and then they're like, "Oops, I made a huge mistake." Well, this time around, they're going to be rectifying your mistake. However, I think for those of you that, just to be clear here, I don't think this is going to recover or refund people who chose the wrong CTPs. So if you crafted the selector and then you chose a CTP, you're not going to get that refunded later. That's done. It's just for the people who have the tokens left over. So if you have a token left over, a normal CTP token, and you had nothing to craft with it, rest assured you will get your CTPs back. So yeah, that's quite nice. Now, moving on to the sneak peek. This is pretty huge. Feared by many, but they fight for us all. A new future is coming. One they never saw coming. Okay, a lot of coming. A group of mutants battle to protect the world. Costumes inspired by Marvel's Animation's X-Men 97. Yeah. Pretty nice. So we get confirmation on 1 brand new character, as well as 3 uniforms for existing characters. So yeah, check out the new abilities and appearance of these heroes who use various abilities such as super strength for Beast, weather manipulation for Storm, energy blasts. That's actually incorrect. It's psionic concussive blasts from the concussive dimension for Cyclops, and solar powers for Sunspot. We will provide more information through the update details. So this is it. This is the only sneak peek for the upcoming X-Men 97 update. And I know that some people are going to be hitting the panic bells, but I would caution against that, because I think that I think that there's obviously a lot more to this than just these 4 uniforms. But here we go. First, we have a look of all 4 uniforms existing in the update so far. For Storm, this is a W for a lot of players, a bit of an L for other players who don't like the Mohawk, but this is a brand new look for Storm that we do not have in the game specifically. We have maybe some versions of it or some that look similar, but we don't have anything exactly the same. And so if we take a look here, we do have a Mohawked version of Storm, but this is the Inhumans version. We have a look that she, these two looks are sort of a combination of looks that she has in the show as well that I think some people were hoping for. And then this one is obviously brand new. But this is huge for Storm because she's finally getting pulled out of, say it with me now, paywall hell. After 2 years in paywall purgatory, she is coming out of her shell. So this is absolutely massive for Storm fans, for free-to-plays everywhere. I don't think they're going to, they might, but I don't think they're going to remove her support because it did exist on her previous unpaywalled uniforms. And so, if anything, they're going to upgrade the support, which is massive. I do hope they just make Storm like a not a standalone, but I do hope they also enhance her DPS. I don't want her to just be a support, but it's very nice to consider that free-to-plays are going to have another option for a mutant support, another option for an elemental support, and another badass blast female DPS. This one for Storm also opens up the door for an alternative to, paywall Psylocke, paywall Gambit, not paywall, but, seasonal Gambit, and, crystal walled Hope Summers for female mutant and blast mutant content for ABL. So this is actually a humongous W. Storm might be the biggest W of the whole update because of how many players it's going to affect in a positive way. So that one is pretty huge. Then, of course, we have Cyclops and Beast. In Beast's case, this does look similar to all of his other looks, but then again, that's because Beast always looks the same in all of his looks. It's just like, if it's not Age of Apocalypse, where he looks a little different, they all are just variations on a theme. Hairy blue guy who's not totally naked. That's basically always been the motif. So yeah, this is very, very similar to his base look, but then again, we've already seen them do this back to basics Iron Man, back to basics Cap and Spider-Man. We've seen this several times, so I'm not really surprised. To be honest, I like this new look better. It's basically just an updated version of this one, and he's not hitting the thinker pose anymore, so you can actually see his face. And I do also like how it's very, very simple, but the colors in this one just seem a little off. Like his hair around him just looks like a helmet, whereas this one, it's more smooth and natural. And it just looks better. And I also like the teeth showing. This is just very, very 90s X-Men. And then Cyclops. Cyclops, again, another one where it's very, very similar to his base look. Absolutely. Probably the most similar if we had to compare between uniforms, because it's essentially the same. They just spaced out those little thigh braces a little bit, and they changed his hairstyle. His hairstyle is getting a bit of a change. I think they're making his hair more reddish, it seems like, at least from that render. That might not be the final render, but otherwise this looks very, very similar to the classic Cyclops. I'm still very excited, and I think you guys will find that we'll do something. I think we're gonna, let me just spoil it now. I think I'm gonna tier 4 Cyclops in the next video ahead of the update. And the reason why I want to do that is because I want to start collecting blast books again. This is something that I want to talk about in the video, but we'll just quickly, we'll pause it for now as we just talk quickly about Sunspot. So Sunspot's going to be the last one here, brand new character for the time being, and he's either going to be Blast, which I think is like a 99% option, or Universal, but I think it's going to be Blast. But overall, I would say that this is not going to be the full update, guys. I think it would be very surprising if they did an X-Men 97 update and they kept it this small, in particular because, at least one of them, all of the uniforms are needed at this point, but you do have repetitive ones where Cyclops and Storm already have tier 4, so that's, and this kind of ties into what I was thinking about tier 4ing Cyclops ahead of time. And you could also potentially tie this in if you didn't have tier 4 Storm, that you might want to tier 4 her now to get a head start on collecting more Blast Vishanti books. And the reason for that is there's only one tier 4able character besides Sunspot if they release him as a tier 4, out the gate, which is very, very rare. I don't think they're going to do that. So right now we're just looking at Beast. Now, I know Cyclops and Storm already have tier 4, and for some players, like Winter Soldier when he got a new uniform recently, and Black Widow, they were existing tier 4s just getting upgrades, like Sharon Rogers, sure. but they don't do that very often, right? Oftentimes, the majority of the time, the vast majority of the time, when Marvel Future Fight releases an update now, since Tier 4, there's 2 Tier 4s per update in the main update, and then they usually drop 1 or 2 more for the mid-month, which means there should be probably 1 more Tier 4 here, right? Not just Beast. And it may not come in the main update. This may be it for the main update, but then I would assume, I do expect there to be a part 2 for the mid-month where we see, you know, maybe Nightcrawler Tier 4, maybe Jubilee Tier 4. There's so many characters still. And the one big one that I would say hopefully we don't miss this time around is Bastion. I think it would be a mistake on the part of the devs to not include Bastion in these updates. He's already in Contest of Champions, so it's not like he's being you know, purposely or intentionally withheld from the games because of MCU appearances or something like that. He's already in the games, so I do hope that that Bastion is coming in a mid-month, maybe with some other mutants. They do use the mutant detected thing, so yeah, I do kind of expect that. But yeah, I think there's certainly an argument to be made for the potential that more characters are going to be in the live stream reveal, or that more characters are going to be coming later to sort of maybe balance out the Tier 4s. Or they think they're releasing, you know, 3 Tier 4s here, even though 2 of them are existing ones, and then in the mid-month they're going to do another 3. Because, like, don't get me wrong, there's just a lot of mutants, right? There's a lot of mutants left that don't have Tier 4 that are popular enough. Like, Mr. Sinister is a popular enough Tier 4, and he's not Tier 4, and he has an immortality artifact. So clearly the devs have big hopes for him. Jubilee is another pretty popular character, has a whole side quest, you know, multiple episodes. She has a whole episode to herself, right? The Jubilee maze thing with SUNSPOT. So if they're adding SUNSPOT, not adding Jubilee Tier 4 would be kind of weird. So if it's not in this update, I imagine it in the mid-month. Emma, again, another one that we kind of are expecting here because she is in X-Men 97, albeit briefly, and she was in that voting poll, the top 15, with Medusa, the two of the only remaining characters to not get a uniform or a Tier 4, Tier 3 upgrade. So, you know, at the very least, right, at the very, very least, you have Emma, Jubilee, and then 1 more, maybe Bastion, something like that. I think that's the bare minimum, but they can go crazy, right? Nightcrawler Tier 4, Bishop Tier 4. There's tons of mutants still. They could finally give Exodus a Tier 3 or a Transcendence. There's tons of options here, and I think just these 4 would be, you know, missing the potential. But then again, it's possible that they want to space out these X-Men 97 updates, and they have a plan where they want to drop multiple of them throughout the year. And maybe they don't have a lot of other good options for updates this year outside of the MCU stuff, so they're like, okay, let's stretch out this X-Men 97 stuff rather than having it all in one go. However, this is what we also thought about Hellfire Gala, and we were dead wrong about that. So when we got Hellfire Gala Part 1 with Colossus and Emma, we were like, oh man, like this is the start of something special. They're going to do a bunch of Hellfire updates, Mr. Sinister. We're going to see all these different looks. No, we got like 4 characters and that's it. This one is kind of Hellfire Gala, but that's it. That's all we got. So yeah, they didn't end up doing that. So I do want to sort of to play devil's advocate and argue against myself. This could just be epic amounts of cope, and I could be completely wrong, and this could be all we get for the mutants. Again, I'm optimistic. I would also be surprised if they went to all this trouble and then they didn't do more than this. Again, especially considering the thing with Tier 4s, right? Tier 4 is their main moneymaker nowadays. If you're the marketing team and you're looking at this update and you're saying, okay, what is going to appeal to the whales, right? You have to have whale appeal in every single update. Okay, so for the whales, the Tier 4 beast. Okay, and there has to be more than that. In the main update, there has to be more than 1 Tier 4. So that's why I'm expecting more. Either there's going to be a new CTP that drops, there's going to be some new system to upgrade, or there's going to be multiple Tier 4s. Now, again, those things, I'm just throwing them out there as ideas. I'm not saying that for sure we have clues or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying there has to be, you know, a certain amount of marketing built into every update, because that's just how these games make money and how they work. So I would be surprised if this is all we are getting. Anywho, guys, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know if you think it's psycho to Tier 4 Cyclops or Storm now in anticipation of the update, or if you actually think it's a good idea because of the, you know, drip-fed book situation that we have and wanting to play catch up before other Blast Tier 4s are released, and we, you know, then get stuck having to choose between, you know, two really good options. This is assuming Cyclops becomes a really good option. Anyways, guys, hit me up in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching the video. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.